So as the first step of our assembly process of the Smart Medi box, we are going to solder the power supply components. So first of all, we are going to solder the JST socket. I'm going to ensure the correct orientation. And I'm going to place it on the PCB. I'm going to use the table to hold the JST connector in place. And I'm going to solder one leg of the JST connector so that it is properly fixed to the PCB. I'm going to make some adjustments so that it stays in the proper place. And after confirming that, I'm going to solder the other joint as well. This is how the JST connector should look like after soldering. Now I'm going to place the PCB on the PCB holder so that it's easy to solder the other components. Next up, we are going to solder the 3.3 volt regulator. I'm going to bend one pin of the regulator so that the regulator stays in the proper place while soldering. This is how the bent leg looks like. And I'm going to solder the regulator to the PCB now. Before soldering the other legs, I'm going to make sure that the IC is in the correct place. If not, you can heat up the leg and adjust the position. Since it's okay, I'm going to solder the other legs as well. I'm going to cut the excess legs using a cutter. This is how the soldered regulator should look like. Next up, we are going to solder the capacitors in. So before soldering capacitors, you have to correctly ensure the orientation of the capacitor. You have to place the negative terminal to the negative port of the capacitor and the positive terminal to the positive port of the capacitor. So you can identify the capacitor negative port using the markings on the capacitor as well. And after confirming the correct orientation, I'm going to place the capacitor into the PCB. I'm going to bend the legs so that the capacitor stays in the proper place. For that, I'm going to use a tweezer and I'm going to bend it near to the PCB. I'm going to cut the excess legs of the capacitor. And using a similar process, I'm going to solder the other capacitor as well. Also make sure that you place the capacitor on the correct orientation. After soldering all the power supply components of our Smart Ready box, this is how the PCB should look like. Now, since we have successfully soldered the power components, we have to check if the power circuit is working properly. For that, I'm going to use a multimeter and I'm going to connect our circuit to the power. And I'm going to measure the voltage between the output capacitor. I'm going to flip the board and keep the test leads to the output capacitor. First of all, I'm going to check the input voltage and I'm getting a 9 volt input. And then I'm going to test the voltage between the output capacitor. Since we are using a 5 volt regulator for this demonstration, you can see the output voltage is 5 volts. This means our power circuit is working correctly and we can proceed to the next components.